in life, calm things down a bit to think better. So I wanted to throw that in.
Well, have you seen these public service announcements where they, and then little blurbs and TV shows where a murderer who kills his family then goes, "Oh, the weed made me do it." They're actually coming back with reefer madness type stuff.
Yeah, and see, even cocaine doesn't make people commit a crime. Methamphetamine doesn't make people commit a crime. You know, we were taught that drugs are good or evil, you know. Well, drugs can't be good or evil. They don't have a soul. They're just a substance. It's what people do with those. There's no scientific evidence at all that says if I snort or any person snorts a line of methamphetamine, they're going to become possessed all of a sudden and run over and rob a store. Drugs do not cause the crimes. Prohibition causes the crime. And when you have a selfish person taking drugs, then you have a selfish person on drugs. If you have a bar fighter and then you put that bar fighter on drugs, you have a bar fighter on drugs. But it's not the drugs that made him bar fight. It's not the drugs that made the person steal. It's character issues within the person.
Well, exactly. They're already unstable. But I mean, particularly with the serotonin reuptake inhibitors, though, that aren't natural and that are a byproduct of petrochemical production, they actually eat holes in your brain. They're actually very toxic. And as you said, then making drugs illegal, the basic precursor agents they use are toxic. And then so it's the methamphetamine certainly would keep you up, and after a week you would go crazy from lack of sleep.
Right.
But I mean, by itself, the methamphetamine is filled with all these heavy metals and Grignard reagents because they made its precursors prohibited, so people had to go get toxic waste to basically make it. And so that's what's really killing the people.
Yeah. And again, back to my argument, it's not the drugs causing these crimes. No different than when I was a cop and I would go in and arrest a guy for beating his wife because he was drunk. I took him to jail for that assault, but not the liquor bottle next to him. Where if a person's doing cocaine and they get into a fight, they go to jail for the fight and the cocaine because they say the cocaine causes the fight. Part of the lies that we've been told as kids, and it's the same lies my parents and my grandparents.
Well, I have to say this. I've done cocaine twice. When I was like 15 and 16, I'd be at a party or something, and somebody'd say, there's some, cocaine in this joint or in this cigarette, and you smoke some of it, and it would just make me feel like a dirty coffee high. And then, frankly, many times where I've forgotten and drunk 5-6 cups of strong coffee, I mean, I'm 10 times more buzzed and jacked up than the 2 times I did cocaine.
Yeah, and again...
So what's the deal with... Why do people want to use cocaine when in my experience, coffee jacks...
The sex and the partying, cocaine triggers something, and I don't know the science behind it, but it triggers this sexual thing, and sex is better, the partying, you can party longer. Back in the 80s, it was an extremely popular drug among the elite and the wealthy. We all know those stories, but that's why cocaine is so attractive. And you really have to have a lot of issues to become a cocaine addict, a true cocaine addict. Having the craving to snort a line of coke at a party is not the same as addiction.
Well, that's the same thing.
It's hard to get addicted to cocaine, folks.
The neurons in the brain that accept cocaine and other narcotics are the same ones that accept nicotine.
Okay.
It's the same class,
Yeah. So, again, we talk about drugs, and this isn't just this is really a drug issue. This is a freedom issue.
Well, it is. I mean, what I'm saying is 70 years ago, you could walk into any five and dime, and they would have even small stores would have a small pharmacy area at the back, and there was cocaine, heroin, just everything there on the shelf, and there were addicts. And, I've been out in the countryside at some old burned-down farm, from the 30s or something, and there's those laudanum bottles just in piles out in the woods everywhere, opium bottles. But, I mean, that person was addicted and had a problem. They didn't, need to go to prison. I mean, they bought that at Eckerd's.
Well, Americans are smart. Through education, we cut cigarette smoking by 50%. The government, those men that sit in Washington, D.C., believe they have to outlaw something to protect Americans, when the truth is we should be able to decide our own health. And as long as those drugs or whatever we use aren't causing harm to somebody else, we should have that freedom to use that particular substance. And I know we're repeating the same arguments, but here's what we have to really concentrate on, and that's the life of a prisoner. Listen, there are people sitting through this at the time it took to finish this interview. Every 38 seconds through this interview, somebody got handcuffed and put in the back of a patrol car, and they're headed to a cage right now. And those places stink. They're scary. They're horrible. They're full of pedophiles. You wouldn't believe what some of the guards look like. You know, we're living in a country...
I call them maggot demons.
Yeah, they believe that they're there to punish people instead of incarcerate people.
Well, they get off on the sadist.
Yeah.
They're sadists.
Right. So
I mean, I've been in juvenile one time for 2 days, and somebody tried to rape me, and it was a guard. One visit, folks. One visit.
Somebody's getting raped right now in jail.
Oh, they're getting raped everywhere.
Yeah, that got put in there over a non-violent drug crime.
And then the jail guards and the cops, they all defend their corruption, just like CPS when they kill kids or get them drowned or whatever or use them for sex. Because the system wants to protect itself, all its crime, so the smart criminals are filling the government.
That's right. And the judges and the prosecutors that are supposed to be a checks and balance on these police officers are actually enablers. They're enabling the police to continue their power structure because a judge can he can't be, I mean, I sue judges, but the Attorney General always wiggles them out of it.
And if a probation officer doesn't nail young people or nonviolent folks and doesn't find reasons to keep them under the thumb or send them back to jail, they get kicked out themselves.
That's right. That's right. And I want to make this point. The adults that you hear in our country talk about our kids are going to pot. What's wrong with our kids? They don't show respect anymore. There is a principle that says when there's a problem in a company, a government, a family, a school, anywhere, it's always leadership.
Oh, that's so key.
Instead of leadership beating the sheep up, you hear preachers sometimes going, y'all aren't doing this, y'all aren't doing that. Well, it's the same with the adults in our land, blaming these young kids for everything. It's not their fault. It's my fault. It's my parents' fault. It's my grandparents' fault. They worked like slaves in this country while their freedom was taken from them, and now they want to blame it on the way the kids are acting. That's why I don't spend a lot.
Exactly. It is the adults and the grandparents. It is their fault America's gone to hell. And let me expand on that. When you take, on average, several million children a year and incarcerate them in the CPS or in the juvenile justice system, every study, every statistic going back to the Panopticon in France 300 years ago and the modern prison system off of that, they know, the establishment knows that it actually is a university of crime, a university of gangs, and that's why our children act like gang members, because in all the groups of our children are people that have been institutionalized, and so it's literally polluting all of society. And you're right, it rolls from the warden to the corrupt jail guards, who are selling drugs on the side to the inmates, right down. And they had a study they've been doing it for decades, for 2008, and it just came out in the 1st of January. The LA Times reported on it, that they watch over the decades the number of children in surveys, teenagers, that say they lie, they cheat on tests, they steal. And decades ago, it was like 15, 20%, and it went up 30, 40, 50. It's now over 50+% admit they steal, they lie, they cheat. And they were asked, why do you do that? And they said, everybody knows crooks run the government, crooks run society. This is a criminal society. Our teachers want us to cheat so that they get the bonuses. They basically hand out, and I was too dumb in school to know why some of the teachers, they didn't know all of this, would kind of hand out and leave around the answers the week before the test that was coming up. I mean, I remember that. And what I'm saying is we are a corrupt... Look at Mexico. It's totally collapsing right now, where basic services can't even operate now because they become a completely corrupt society. So you're absolutely right. It is the leadership.
That's right.
Fish rots from the head.
And our parents and our grandparents were too busy in the church teaching the kids, don't drink, don't cuss, don't smoke, don't have sex.
Willie Nelson says that's what made him become a party animal.
Yeah, they need to,
because they told him don't do all this as soon as he got out of the house. He said, party time! Party!
Yeah, it's legalism, it's laws. Candy and
my parents didn't do that, so I never got into drugs.
Candy and I teach our kids, and it's worked. We've got a 16-year-old daughter we just dropped off at Austin Community College. We spend our time teaching our kids character qualities like loyalty, kindness, love, consideration, honor, respect. That way, when they